afternoon. Welcome to another exciting episode of Spill the Tea with Mrs. P. I hope you're all okay and I hope you've had a lovely week. So, this has come up because I saw it in the news and I thought it was quite interesting, as well as very sad. Perry Edwards has done an interview. I think she was in Little Mix, if you're not sure who she is. And she has explained that she's had 2 miscarriages and her son is a rainbow baby, which is a baby that is born after miscarriage, and then she had another miscarriage after she had him. And I thought it was quite sick. We had 2 miscarriages. The first one was 2 weeks before our wedding, which was just horrific, and everyone was just, at least you've got the wedding to focus on. Oh, you can focus on that. At least you've got something nice to look forward to. And looking back, I think we should have postponed it, the wedding, because I wasn't mentally there. I was still bleeding on my wedding day from the miscarriage, which is just the worst feeling. And whilst it was the happiest day of my life, I still look back now, and in the pictures, I know that there was a sadness inside me. And it kept hurting that everyone kept saying at least you could focus on the wedding, because I'd have given my wedding up like that to have our baby back. We didn't talk about it at the time, and I don't think we talked properly at the time, Mr. P and I. We've talked since, and he said the same. You know, we shouldn't have, neither of us were in the right headspace. We should have just postponed it. But we sort of pushed through, I think, because everyone expected us to push through. And I think the people that expected us to push through, not in a horrible way, not in a horrible way at all, but I don't think they'd ever had a miscarriage so they could understand the hurt that you're feeling. And that's not disrespectful to them at all. It's just, it's the truth. It's the harsh truth of it. Because to say that about someone, I feel like I'm saying they didn't understand it. And I don't think you can understand unless you've been through it. But they weren't doing it in a hurtful, malicious way. They were wanting the best for both of us. They were trying to get us to focus on something good to try and distract us, which is obviously what you do a lot of the time. But at the time, it wasn't what we needed. And with the second miscarriage we already had, 4 beautiful children. So we felt like we couldn't say anything, we couldn't grieve. We were expected, well, at least you've got 4 children, you're lucky to have 4. And we were, and God, I count my blessings every day, but it didn't stop the grief and the overwhelming loss and devastation that we felt. And I feel like on both our miscarriages for different things, we weren't given that chance to lie down and cry. We weren't given that opportunity to grieve for a child we no longer had. And watching the Perry Edwards interview really brought that home to me. And one thing that was mentioned was in other countries, they tell people immediately. They tell people as soon as they've got a positive pregnancy test. So in other countries, miscarriages are not so taboo. They're not. People do talk about them, people understand them better, which I think is a key thing for people to understand them better. And I mean, we've always told people pretty early on in our pregnancies, maybe because I get so excited. And I can see why people do want to keep it quiet. It is harder after miscarriages. But I think telling people earlier and getting miscarriages talked about and people being more aware and maybe trying to understand the feelings, it does benefit the person going through it. I remember going for my 12-week scan with Boo, who is a rainbow baby, obviously. We had her 12 months after getting married. And I was going for the 12-week scan and I was petrified. It's a fear I can't explain to you going into that scan, because I was convinced they were going to say there was no heartbeat. But in my with the pregnancy that we lost, I didn't start bleeding or anything. We went into the scan, and there was no heartbeat. So we had there was no warning to it. We went into the scan so happy, and our world was just blown to bits. And I was so scared this was going to happen again with Boo. And I remember I got a message off someone as I was going in saying, good luck today, thinking of you. And I sent one back saying, I'm absolutely petrified. And they said, I know how you feel. And I thought, no, you don't, because I know that they'd never had a miscarriage, and I didn't mean it aggressively, but I was hurt that they could go, oh, I know how you feel, because you don't, unless you've been through it. You can't understand that heartache, and to say that you can, it is really, really disrespectful, to be honest, because that person at that time didn't know how scared I was. They can't comprehend that. You might, and I'm sorry if that comes across wrong, but that's the harsh reality of it. You can't understand how someone is feeling unless you've been through it and you've walked it in their shoes. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying I've been in the worst situations. There are so many losses that are so different and so much worse, and I'm not trying to say glory to me. I've been through the worst situation. I've not. And I've got 6 kids running around, so I am incredibly lucky. But I think the point of it has to be that we open up more, we talk more, we tell people about pregnancies earlier, and then I just feel it would build more support, more knowledge, and I think if you know someone that turns to you and says, I'm having a miscarriage, or I've had a miscarriage, you don't necessarily need to say anything other than, I'm here. Do you want to watch a film? Do you want to sit and listen to music? You don't have to be like, I understand how you're feeling, because no one will, because no 2 miscarriages are the same. No 2 people feel the same. But just being there, just sitting there, it might be what they need to make them feel less alone, because they're never going to feel okay. I don't know if you ever feel okay again. It gets easier. The hurt does get less, but it doesn't go away. You don't forget it. I remember with Busy, who's our youngest, and at Christmas, I'd been out Christmas shopping. Mr. P was out with all the other kids, and I came home and we started bleeding. And it was when the restrictions were still sort of in place with lockdown. And I phoned him and said, I've started bleeding, I'm going straight to maternity. And went in, and I actually, EPU, early pregnancy unit I went to, and went in, and they did a scan, and they said, the baby is still there. There's nothing, it wasn't too early on, but we're too early on to be able to intervene. And they said, this is a suspected miscarriage in progress. You have to go home and see what happens over the next 48 hours. They basically said, you have to go home and see if you pass the baby, see what happens. And I had to be in on my own because, like I said, the restrictions were in place. But the fear, I just lay for 48 hours. I didn't dare move. Honestly, I was so scared that if I stood up, it would just cause the miscarriage to happen. And we had 2 weeks of on and off bleeding. My head wasn't in it. Christmas, the whole of Christmas just had to happen in a week, because I went back 2 weeks later. They called me back in, did a scan. There was no bleeding. Beautiful little heartbeat. We were lucky. We were very lucky. So I suppose the whole point of it is, we need to talk more. We need to discuss things more. We need to make it not so taboo, not so awkward. It's always going to hurt to talk about it. It's always going to hurt for people to say, this is what's happening to me. But if people around cannot go, oh, it's okay, you'll get over it, you'll get through it, you've got this to look forward to, you've got that to look for, you're lucky you've got other children. Just be. Just be with that person, and it might just make it a little less hard for them. Okay, that's my little thoughts on that one. And I hope you're all okay. If you're going through anything like that, feel free to reach out. I'll sit and hold your hand anytime. All right, guys, take care. Bye.